I never thought I would find myself in a situation where love could feel both, like the warmest blanket and the sharpest blade. When I first met him at university, it wasn't anything cinematic. No fireworks, no dramatic eye contact across the lecture hall. Instead, it was subtle, almost quiet, like two puzzle pieces that simply clicked into place. We had mutual friends, sat in the same common spaces, exchanged glances and small talk until one day the conversation just never ended. He was 20, I was 18, and the thing that drew me in was how eerily similar we seemed. It wasn't just hobbies or favorite movies, it was the way he thought, the way he processed the world. I felt like I'd stumbled upon someone who had been walking parallel to me my entire life, and finally, our paths merged. Within a couple of weeks, we were inseparable. We studied together, grabbed coffee after long lectures, went on walks around campus at night just to talk about everything and nothing. I didn't even realize I was falling in love until one day I caught myself smiling like an idiot at a text he sent about some random joke. By the time we made it official, about 6 months ago, I was already deep in it. He wasn't perfect, of course. Neither was I. But in those first months, the imperfections felt small, almost endearing, compared to the enormous joy of finding someone who understood me. By June, I felt certain. This wasn't just another relationship, it was the kind you build a future on. Then summer came. I had to leave the country and go back home for 3 months. Long distance sounded intimidating, but not impossible. We were both busy with internships, and we promised to text, call, and make the best of it. The first 2 weeks were fine. We sent each other updates, photos, sweet messages. I missed him, but I felt secure knowing that distance wouldn't change what we had. And then, out of nowhere, came the first crack. He sent me a message one night, his words clunky, his tone strange. I don't think we're compatible for a relationship. I stared at my phone in disbelief. Was this a joke? A bad one? My heart pounded as I read it over and over again, trying to make sense of the words. Nothing had happened. Nothing at all. The last time I saw him in person, everything was fine, better than fine. And now, 2 weeks into long distance, he was detonating a bomb right into the middle of my summer. I asked him what he meant. His response only confused me more. Do you even see me in a romantic way? The question felt absurd. Of course I did. How could he doubt that? But before I could even wrap my head around why he'd ask something so obvious, he added another blow. I feel like you don't really enjoy physical intimacy with me. I froze. That wasn't true. At least not in the way he meant. Yes, intimacy was a little awkward for me. I had never done anything sexual with anyone before him, and sometimes I struggled to relax into it. But that didn't mean I wasn't attracted to him. I explained this, carefully, desperately, trying to untangle the misunderstanding. It's not that you don't excite me. I wrote, my thumbs shaking as I typed. I am attracted to you. It's just physically, I don't feel much yet. That doesn't mean I don't want to figure it out with you. But instead of relief, his reply only dragged me deeper into confusion. I think the intimacy thing is just an externalization of deeper issues. Deeper issues? My mind spun. What deeper issues? There were none. At least, none that I could see. I asked him what he meant, but he admitted he didn't really know. I don't know why I feel this way, he said. Why do you think I feel like this? I wanted to scream. How was I supposed to explain feelings that weren't even mine? He told me he'd think about it more and get back to me. That night, I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, my stomach in knots. Had I missed signs? Was there something broken in me? Or was this just his way of pulling away without saying it outright? The next day, my phone buzzed with a long message from him. My hands trembled as I opened it. It was a breakup message. Long, detailed, final. He said there was a lack of romantic pull. The words crushed me. Just like that, he was ending everything. I couldn't breathe. My chest ached. My throat closed up, and tears streamed down my face until I could barely see the screen. I cried for hours. It felt like my heart had been ripped open with no warning, no chance to fight for us. But even in my pain, I managed to write him back. I poured everything out. That I was devastated, but I respected his decision. That I had seen a future with him, a long one, a happy one. That no matter what, I cared for him deeply. That I wanted to meet in person to talk, to have closure, to at least end things face to face. I hit send, my vision still blurry with tears. Half an hour later, my phone buzzed again. This time, it wasn't another goodbye. "Maybe I'm wrong about this," he wrote. And then he unsent the message. But the damage was done. I saw it. The floodgates opened. He told me he loved me, that what I had written mirrored his own feelings, that he was crying too. It was whiplash. One moment I was mourning the death of my relationship, the next he was pulling me back, telling me I was still his. I didn't know whether to laugh, scream, or collapse. It felt like waking up from a nightmare and realizing it wasn't real, but also questioning whether the nightmare might just be paused, waiting to return. We agreed to sit on it until we could talk in person, 2 months away. For now, we'd what? Pretend everything was normal? Apparently, yes. The very next day, he asked if I wanted to call. Not to talk about the breakup or the confusion, but just to catch up like always. I said yes, of course. When we talked, it was like nothing had happened. We laughed, shared stories, sent each other pictures. But inside me, something had shifted. I couldn't forget what had happened. I couldn't forget that he had broken me, then taped me back together with trembling hands, expecting me to act like I was whole again. Still, I played along, because I loved him, because I wanted us to work, because the thought of losing him felt like falling into an endless pit. Weeks passed. We texted every day, sent good morning messages, called when we could. On the surface, we looked like any normal long-distance couple, but underneath I was drowning. Every time he took longer to reply, every time he sent one less heart emoji, every time his messages felt just slightly less endearing, it sent me spiraling. Was this the beginning of the end again? Was I waiting just to relive that same heartbreak? The waiting became torture. I wanted to fast forward time, to skip to the moment we'd finally sit down in person and face this. I wanted answers. I wanted clarity. But all I had was this limbo. And limbo is a slow kind of heartbreak, the kind that bleeds you dry, drop by drop, while you keep smiling through the pain. By the time July rolled around, I had become an expert at pretending. Pretending that the breakup message had never existed. Pretending that the words lack of romantic pull weren't burned into my memory like a scar. Pretending that I wasn't terrified every single day that he would change his mind again, and this time actually mean it. On the outside, I smiled at his jokes, laughed during our calls, sent him selfies and sweet little notes. But on the inside, I was constantly holding my breath. I would stare at my phone after sending a message, watching the screen like a hawk, waiting for those 3 little dots to appear. When they didn't, my chest tightened. When they did, I exhaled like I'd been underwater. It wasn't healthy, and I knew it. But when you love someone, when you've already imagined your life with them, it's terrifying to face the possibility that it could all collapse in a single text message. Sometimes I wondered if he realized the power he held over me. Did he know that one careless word could unravel me completely? Or was he just as lost and confused as I was? Because that was the thing, I couldn't tell anymore. Was he in love with me, or was he convincing himself that he was? Was he pulling away, or was he just overwhelmed with his own life? The uncertainty ate at me. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. We were on a call, talking about random things, our internships, our friends, some silly meme he wanted to show me. But I couldn't focus. My mind kept circling back to the question that had been gnawing at me for weeks. Finally, I blurted it out. "Do you still love me?" There was a pause that lasted a fraction of a second too long, but to me, it felt like hours. Then he said softly, "Of course I do." The words should have comforted me, but instead, they only deepened my unease. Because of course sounded rehearsed, automatic, like the kind of answer you give when you want to shut down the question rather than explore it. I didn't press him further. I couldn't risk pushing him away. So I swallowed my doubts and forced myself to smile through the screen. "Okay," I whispered, pretending that was enough. but it wasn't. The next day, he sent me a good morning text with a heart emoji, and I clung to it like a lifeline. This was how I lived now, swinging between despair and relief, measuring the state of my relationship by the number of emojis in his texts. It was exhausting, and yet I kept going, because the alternative, losing him, was unbearable. Still, I couldn't shake the image of him sitting there, typing out that breakup message, concluding in his mind that there was no future for us. If he had truly felt that once, what stopped him from feeling it again? What stopped him from waking up one morning and deciding I wasn't enough?
The thought haunted me.
I wanted to believe in us, I really did, but the cracks in my heart made it hard. One evening, while I was scrolling through our old messages, I came across one from the early days of our relationship. It was simple. "I can't believe how lucky I am to have met you." I stared at it for a long time, my eyes stinging. Where had that version of him gone? The one who made me feel cherished, adored, irreplaceable? Now, I felt like I was constantly auditioning to keep my role in his life. Like at any moment, he could decide to recast. I didn't tell him this, of course. Instead, I buried it deep inside and kept playing the part of the happy girlfriend. But sometimes the cracks showed. Sometimes my voice trembled when I said goodnight. Sometimes I hesitated before sending a message, wondering if I sounded too needy, too desperate, too much. And sometimes I would cry quietly after hanging up, clutching my phone like it was both the problem and the solution. As the weeks dragged on, I began to resent the waiting. This 2-month limbo felt like a punishment. I was stuck in this endless cycle of hope and fear, unable to move forward, unable to heal. I wanted to scream at him. "Why did you break me if you weren't sure?" But I didn't, because I was scared that asking for clarity would push him into making the very decision I dreaded most. So I stayed silent. I endured. I told myself that if I could just make it through the summer, everything would make sense when we finally talked in person. But deep down, I wasn't sure if I believed that, because clarity doesn't come from waiting. Clarity comes from honesty. And honesty was the one thing we were avoiding. He avoided it by hiding behind vague phrases like externalization of deeper issues. I avoided it by pretending I wasn't falling apart inside. We were two people orbiting each other in silence, both terrified of colliding, both pretending that the distance between us was temporary when it already felt like a chasm. The cruel part was that I still loved him. Every laugh, every picture he sent, every little goodnight love message. It kept my hope alive, even when that hope felt more like self-destruction. Because love isn't logical. It doesn't care about red flags, or mixed signals, or heartbreak. It just keeps burning, even when it hurts. And I couldn't stop loving him, no matter how much it hurt. By August, the days began to feel heavier. The excitement I once felt when my phone lit up with his name was now mixed with dread. I never knew which version of him I would get. Would it be the sweet, affectionate boyfriend who sent me photos of his day and told me he missed me? Or would it be the distant, distracted version, the one who responded with one-word answers that left me spiraling into panic? The inconsistency was killing me. One night, I couldn't take it anymore. We were on the phone, and I tried to keep my voice steady, but the words slipped out before I could stop them. "Sometimes I feel like you don't really want this anymore." There was silence on the other end. I closed my eyes, bracing myself for impact. Finally, he sighed. "That's not true," he said quietly. "I do want this." "Then why does it feel like you're half in, half out?" I asked, my voice trembling. Another pause. "I don't know," he admitted. I get in my head sometimes. I question things, but that doesn't mean I don't care about you." My throat tightened. How am I supposed to handle that? I whispered, "You already broke up with me once. Do you know how scared I am that you'll do it again?" I heard him breathing on the other end, slow and shaky. "I'm sorry," he said. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I don't always know what I'm feeling, and sometimes it comes out wrong." I wanted to believe him. I wanted to take those words and stitch them into the cracks of my heart, to convince myself that this was just a phase, just his confusion, nothing more. But deep down, I knew that doubt once planted never really goes away. Still, I whispered back, okay. Because what else could I say? The next day, he sent me a long text apologizing again. He said he loved me, that he was grateful for me, that he didn't want to lose me. And for a moment, I felt peace. But peace never lasted long anymore. Within days, the cycle repeated itself. A delayed reply, a message that felt colder than usual, a call that ended too quickly. And there I was again, staring at my screen, wondering if my relationship was already over and I just hadn't been told yet. One evening, after hours of overthinking, I decided to write everything down. Every fear, every doubt, every memory of the breakup message that still haunted me. It turned into pages and pages of raw emotion, a confession I didn't know if I would ever send. But it felt good to let it out, even if only on paper. As I wrote, I realized something painful. I was holding on to him not because I trusted him fully, but because I was terrified of losing him. There's a difference. And that difference was suffocating me. A week later, we had another call. We talked about mundane things at first, his internship project, the annoying noise outside my window, the usual filler. But then he got quiet. I've been thinking, he said slowly. My stomach dropped.
About what?
I asked carefully. About us, he replied. I gripped my phone tighter. And I don't want to lose you, he said. But I also feel like I'm not enough for you. Like maybe you deserve someone who can give you more. The words hit me like a slap. Why would you say that? I demanded, my voice breaking. Because, he sighed, I keep messing this up. I hurt you. I confuse you. I make you doubt everything. That's not fair to you. Tears filled my eyes. Do you not get it? I whispered. I don't want someone else. I want you. Even when you confuse me. Even when you hurt me. I just want you to stop running from this. There was silence on the line, and I wondered if I had said too much. But then, softly, he said, I love you. And I broke down, because those 3 words, as messy as everything was, still had the power to undo me completely. I whispered it back, over and over, like a prayer. But after we hung up, the doubt returned. Because love alone doesn't fix confusion. Love alone doesn't erase insecurity. Love alone doesn't guarantee he won't wake up tomorrow and decide all over again that we don't work. As the date of our reunion drew closer, I found myself living in 2 realities at once. In one reality, I pictured us meeting at the airport, hugging tightly, kissing like we hadn't seen each other in years, and finally, having the honest conversation that would bring us closer than ever. In the other reality, I imagine him looking me in the eye and confirming my worst fear, that he was done, for real this time. Both possibilities felt equally real. Both kept me awake at night. One evening, my best friend called me. She had been watching me unravel all summer, and she wasn't having it anymore. You can't keep living like this, she said firmly. I know, I muttered. No, I don't think you do, she pressed. You're waiting around for him like your entire life depends on what he decides. That's not fair to you. I bit my lip, tears welling up. But I love him, I said weakly. And love doesn't mean letting someone dangle you in limbo, she shot back. You deserve clarity. You deserve security. You deserve someone who knows they want you without hesitation. Her words stung because they were true, but I couldn't let go. I just need to wait until we see each other, I insisted. Then everything will be clearer. She sighed. I hope so, but promise me one thing. What? Promise me you'll listen to yourself when that day comes. Don't just take whatever he offers if it still feels wrong. I swallowed hard. I promise, I whispered, even though I wasn't sure if I meant it. As the final weeks of summer ticked down, my emotions swung wildly between hope and despair. Some days, I felt certain we would work it out. Other days, I was convinced he was only stringing me along until he found the courage to end it. But no matter how much it hurt, I couldn't stop counting down the days until I would finally see him again. Because maybe, just maybe, the answers I so desperately needed would finally come. The day of our reunion arrived sooner than I expected, yet it felt like I had been waiting a lifetime. My stomach twisted into knots as I stood at the arrival's gate, scanning the crowd for him. Every step of every passenger made my heart race faster. And then I saw him, tall, familiar, his eyes searching until they landed on me. For a moment, the world stilled. I wanted to run to him, to throw my arms around him, to kiss him until every doubt disappeared. But my legs felt heavy, as though they carried the weight of the entire summer. Still, when he reached me, instinct took over. We hugged, clinging to each other, and for the first time in months, I felt whole. But even as relief washed over me, fear lingered, because hugs don't erase words like lack of romantic pull. We spent the first hours together pretending everything was normal. We grabbed food, laughed about silly things, walked side by side like we always had. But underneath it all, tension simmered. Finally, later that evening, when we were alone, he broke the silence. "We need to talk." The words made my chest tighten, but I nodded. "Yeah," I whispered. We sat facing each other, the air heavy with unspoken truths. He rubbed his hands together nervously. "I've been dreading this conversation," he admitted. "Me too," I said softly. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then he looked at me, his eyes full of conflict. "I love you," he began. "That hasn't changed. But this summer, I don't know what happened. Something felt different. I kept asking myself if we were really right for each other, and I panicked. That's why I said those things. That's why I almost ended it." His voice cracked, and I felt tears prick my eyes. "You didn't almost end it," I whispered. "You did end it. For a day. I thought it was all over. Do you know what that did to me?" He looked down, guilt etched across his face. "I know," he murmured, "and I hate myself for it." I shook my head, tears spilling over. "You can't just do that to someone. You can't rip their heart out, then change your mind, and expect everything to go back to normal." He reached for my hand, but I hesitated before letting him take it. "I was scared," he said. "I felt like maybe you didn't really want me the way I wanted you. Like maybe I was forcing something." "That's not true," I said quickly. "I've wanted you from the beginning. Yes, intimacy was awkward. Yes, I'm still figuring things out, but that doesn't mean I don't love you. That doesn't mean I'm not attracted to you. Why couldn't you just talk to me instead of assuming?" He swallowed hard, because I didn't know how. I didn't want to sound weak or needy, so I bottled it up until it exploded. And when it did, I panicked and thought breaking up was the answer. I stared at him, my heart aching. "You hurt me more by hiding it," I said. "If we're going to work, you can't keep secrets. You can't drop bombs like that. I need to know what's going on in your head, even when it's messy, even when it's scary. Otherwise, I'm just left here, guessing, blaming myself, dying inside." He nodded, his grip tightening on my hand. "You're right," he said. "I don't want to lose you again. I don't want to hurt you like that again. If you'll give me another chance, I promise to be honest, even when it's hard." Tears blurred my vision. Part of me wanted to collapse into his arms and believe every word. Another part of me whispered that promises are easy, but trust takes time to rebuild. "I don't know if I can just forget," I admitted. "I love you. God, I love you so much. But I can't go through that heartbreak again. If you ever decide you don't want this, you need to tell me straight. Don't string me along. Don't make me wait in limbo." His eyes softened. "I promise," he said again, his voice firm. "No more limbo. If I ever feel like I'm slipping, I'll tell you. And we'll face it together." Silence stretched between us, heavy but hopeful. Finally, I whispered, "Okay." And this time, when he pulled me into his arms, I let him. The summer had scarred me, no doubt. But sitting there, holding him, I realized something important. Love isn't about never doubting. Love is about choosing again and again, even when doubt creeps in. He had hurt me, yes, but he was also here, choosing me again, asking for a chance to do better. And I had to decide if I was willing to risk my heart one more time. As I leaned into his embrace, I knew my answer. Yes, I thought. One more chance. But deep inside, I also made a silent vow to myself. If he ever put me in limbo again, if he ever broke me with uncertainty and left me waiting for love like a punishment, I wouldn't stay. Because love is worth fighting for, but it should never feel like begging. That night, as we lay side by side, his hand intertwined with mine, I realized the waiting was finally over. No more endless wondering. No more silent suffering. We were either going to build something stronger from the wreckage or we weren't. But at least now, I had clarity. And clarity, after months of limbo, felt like freedom.